Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lunchtime special podcast. A show about life, death and everything in between. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, fellow listeners, and welcome to the Lunchtime special podcast. And today, I have my very special co-host, Atish.
Hello, everyone.
And my name is Spiro, and we're going to talk about something which everyone knows about. It's very rarely discussed. We're talking about breathing. Yes, the thing that we all take for granted. The thing that we do without even thinking. The thing that we do without ever being properly trained on. So, breathing. What is it? What does it do to us? It's a fascinating subject, so hopefully you'll enjoy this chat. All right, so I was sent an article by the LA Yoga Club by another fellow Spiro who works there, who's the owner of that yoga club, and the article revolved around the effects of decelerated breathing and basically what are the health benefits. So we have from physicsworld.com, a great article, about how breathing and the rhythms of breathing that we do, how they affect our mind, and in turn, how they affect our relaxation, our well-being, our health. What I found really fascinating was, and this is where Atish really steps in, is, well, the similarities to yogic practices of breathing and how this study really actually effectively proved that yoga, breathing, pranayama, would that be the word?
Yeah.
Really actually has a physical effect on our body. And it can be measured and it can be seen. So I will link to this article in the show notes. I think it's a great read and really clearly shows the benefits. Now, Atish, pranayama. What are we talking about? What is pranayama?
So you started with the word breathing, this discussion.
Yeah.
Breathing is, in a way, most universal phenomena, which most of the biological organisms, they experience inherently. And then that gives the sign of life. That is the sign which says that a life is there. However, that energy which enables a life, when it departs with the breathing capability. So the breathing goes, the life goes.
Yeah.
So in the Yogic Sutras, it is very clearly written that the life is breathing. And breathing is life. So somehow, the whole experience of life for an individual is like an interwoven story around the gravity of breathing. Breathing is the founding stone of life.
Yeah.
Now, because it is an inherent and subconscious phenomena, it's an autonomous phenomena, we don't need to put any conscious attention to it, to its functions, to the areas which it affects, the regulations it causes to the body and mind. It doesn't come to our conscious perception, so we don't pay attention to it. It's not like that we need to find a way to walk, because we need a conscious attention to seek the path to walk. But for breathing, we don't need to do something like that. We don't need to consciously seek or identify options and make a selection. It happens on its own.
Yes.
So pranayama, the technique which is mentioned in Yogic Sutras and in most of the yogic texts, is a consolidation of various regulations of breathing through which physical well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being, psychic well-being, and a universal well-being of an individual is achieved in layman terms. Talking in technical terms, pranayama is the science which regulates and harmonizes your conscious and subconscious intelligences which are governing your biological constitution. Pranayama is supported by dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. They are also scientific and technical terms, but we'll come to later to it. So let's refer to this German university research on decelerated breathing and its impact on the brain waves. In our normal world, what are the most famous problems which we hear about? Heart dysfunctions, stress, depression, blood pressure, metabolism issues. So these are a few of the terms which are very famous.
Yeah.
And also,
common.
Yeah, they're very common. Also, the joint-related problems, stiffness, and especially digestion becomes one of the very great issues, which is very much interlinked with the stress and any mental negativity state, which is undesirable.
That mind and gut connection.
It's very famous, right? Everybody experiences it. Many people, they have like diarrhea in this situation of stress. Many people, they lose the kind of that intelligence and that force of getting to defecation if they are very much in stress. So they both have kind of north and south pole impact.
Yes.
So pranayama, I mainly study and realize the practices through those Sanskrit texts, which are the organic texts for pranayama. It is written that there are two forces which works when breathing happens, when the breathing phenomena happens. Let's call it North Pole and South Pole. So they call it that there is one prana which is called as apana. It works from the digestion area, from the guts area. It works this prana. And there is one prana which works in respiratory reason, which is called as prana. So prana attracts apana. So there are two forces. One force is attracting the other force. And then following the other force is attracting the first force. And that is causing inhale and exhale phenomena. It's not happening. It's a force-driven activity if we look at it technically. So that means continuously there are two intelligence or maybe more working in harmony to let this regular breathing pattern happen. We need to understand it. I would also like to introduce a very interesting fact. When you breathe, do you notice that your nostrils, they change in their pace? Their intensity of the force from them.
Whether they flare, whether they're rapidly moving, whether they're...
And if the left nostril is more strong in the force of the air coming out, exhale, than the right, or right is more strong than the left. In yogic text, we call it swara. The sound of one's breath is swara. And there is a whole department in yogic texts called swara yoga, the yoga of breathing. And there's a whole texts written of practices and mantras to regulate that side. So I will not go into more deeper in there, but I will just touch it to tell you that even your breathing, if in the daytime from morning to evening, just do a simple exercise. Take your finger and place it below your nostrils. And you will realize that either one of them would be very strong and the other one will be less strong. So just to tell you, because we are touching this research of this German university on the breathing impact on brain, when your left nostril is more significant in the force, it is a sign that your mental body is more active and your biological, means your kind of respiratory system, your autonomous intelligence-driven system is less active. That means your metabolism is less active, your breathing is more restful, your pulses are less active, and your mind is more active. On contrary, if your right nostril is more active and left is less active in the force of the air, that means the latter part has become more active now. So the autonomous intelligence, subconscious intelligences, they have become more active. And mind and mental activity has become less active. It falls back, it connects back to the very famous three nadis, three energy channels analogy in Yogic Sutras. They call Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Ida represents the left side, Pingala represents the right side, Ida represents the moon energy, Pingala represents the sun energy, and that is how they are connected. And the third is Sushumna Nadi, Sushumna channel, which represents that when you will place your finger and you will feel that the both are having equal intensity of the force of the air flow, that means your Sushumna Nadi is active. That is a spiritual channel.
Right.
So in that situation, your mental construct, your mental body, your autonomous intelligence, biological body, those intelligence, they will be on rest. And your spiritual channel, that means your psychic body, would be more active. So this is the few of the components of pranayama practices. Now, again, I will connect it back. The research of the German university, which says about how pranayama, how the breathing practices, how decelerated breathing works on the blood pressure, on respiration, on metabolism, so on and so forth. Now, pranayama, I would like to refer back to one of the famous Kriya Yoga text, Hatha Yoga text. Its name is Kheranda Samhita. written by the great Rishi Gheranda. And he mentions what are the different methods of doing pranayama. So I would just sing that mantra in the respect of him, and then I would take you back that why pranayama first. And then we discuss about the techniques. So, Sahitah Surya Bhedascha Ujjayi Shitali Tatha Bhastrika Brahmari Murcha Kevali Astakumbhika. So, breathing, by your own experience, has 3 states where it pauses. First, when you inhale. Second, when you exhale. So, there are 3 states in it. First is Purak. Second is Rechak. Third is Kumbhak. When you inhale, you take a pause after inhale. That's like holding the breath. When you exhale, you take a pause before you inhale again. So when you inhale and then you hold your breath, in this state, there are 8 different techniques of pranayama, which is mentioned. And this mantra was just outlining those 8 techniques.
Wow.
Now these pranayamas, they bring a lot of effect on your mind. How does it do that? When you harmonize your body with asanas and then follow by correct method of pranayama, it starts to bring down the breathing rate. It starts to decelerate your breathing rate. The more deceleration happens, the more it tunes to your blood pressure, your pulses state, your metabolism, and then it causes all the cascading effect. So, in question of existence, what is controlling what? Matter controlling energy or energy controlling matter? Somehow we see an inclination that energy is definitely more stronger than matter. Subtle is more stronger than gross. If you can manage your subtle resources, like your mind, your emotions, your psychic states, you can more easily manage your gross state. That means your physical body.
Yes.
Pranayama is not only about having a harmonized state of mind. It is actually a science of whole being, whole well-being. So this research, which is actually outlining very clearly how the deceleration of breath.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it really breaks it down into the different lengths and times and how different types of regulated breathing, how they actually affect our mind. And everything from 6 seconds up even to, I think it was the greatest length was like 14 seconds. So basically it looks like decelerated breathing and then the actual breathing pattern and rhythm that you take has an immediate effect, but there seems to be an optimum rate. And I think that's actually what's fascinating because it sounds like with your experience with your pranayama and the exercises that you do and the way you decelerate your breathing, you're actually getting those results. And basically this article literally is the hard proof saying that what you're doing is bang on.
Yes. So in my weekends when I practice for 3 to 4 hours, so normally in my daily life, my breathing rate per minute is between 10 to 12. But when I'm after completing my yoga practice or meditation practice with pranayama, the breathing decelerate to 6 to 8. And if I have gone into an intense practice session for 3 to 4 hours, it comes down to 4 to 5 per minute as well. That means matching to what this research is saying.
Exactly.
So, I mean, for the listeners, it is a bit difficult to teach you a technique on this podcast directly. But definitely I can tell you a very simple exercise that just sit silently, close your eyes, and for 1 minute, have deep inhale and deep exhale. Deep inhale and complete exhale in quick successions. Do it for 1 minute, as fast as you can. And after 1 minute, you will feel exhausted. But while keeping your eyes closed, feel the state of your mind and the waves and the colors happening in your mind.